was the only president to have a pet alligator that lived in the White House bathroom? John Quincy Adams. Who was the first president to have a Christmas tree in the White House? Franklin Pierce. Who was the first president to throw out the first pitch at a baseball game? William Howard Taft. Who was the only president to kill a man in a duel? Andrew Jackson. That's just some of the cool stuff that didn't make it into Rutherford B. Who Is He? Poems About Our Presidents, written by me, Marilyn Singer, and illustrated by John Hendricks. To research this book, I read articles and books, and I went to websites, and I watched documentaries, and I talked to experts, and there was so much interesting stuff that I couldn't possibly put it all in the book. So I chose to write about the most important events in each president's term. I didn't want to put a whole biography into each poem. I just wanted to make each poem memorable. But in the back of the book, I do have short biographies of all of the presidents. And I also have a bibliography, webography, so that you, readers, could find out more of this cool stuff that I didn't get to put in the book. When did I realize that I wanted to be an author? I've been writing poetry for a really long time. I started actually in first grade, and I wrote all the way through elementary school and high school and college. And then I taught high school for a short time. But when I left, I decided I would try my hand at writing, and I was very encouraged by my husband and by a writers group. And I was also very lucky because I got my first book accepted after about 6 months of writing it. And that was a prose picture book called The Dog Who Insisted He Wasn't. I didn't get my first poetry book published until a number of years later, and that was called Turtle in July. What do I like writing more, poetry or prose? Well, I really like writing prose because I write a lot of it. I write picture books, I write novels, I write short stories, nonfiction. But I have to admit that my favorite thing to write still is poetry. Why is that? I think that poetry really has the ability to surprise readers, and it surprises me. I get to put in an aha moment in a lot of poems. I also like being able to capture a person or another being or a moment in time in a short space. And poetry lets me play with words, which I find a lot of fun. What is my next project? Well, I have a lot of next projects, but the one you might be most interested in is a book of poems on all of the first ladies. And I'm going to give you a sneak preview and read the first poem from that book. The book won't be out for a while. We know Eleanor Roosevelt, Abigail Adams, but what about those other madams, the many first ladies of our nation who held that most demanding station from our country's uncertain conception right up to the present day? Those women who knew how to host a reception, how much or how little to say. The ones who welcomed public life or chose to hide away, who fought for causes on their own or preferred to stay behind the throne. How many have we read about or even recall? Julia Tyler? Florence Harding? It's time to meet them all. And finally, what's my advice to young writers? Be curious. Everywhere you go, use all of your senses to find out about the world and to get ideas. And read, read, read. That way you learn to write good books. So thank you for this nomination. I hope you enjoy Rutherford B. Who Was He?